Hi everybody, it's Mr. Gray here. Thank you again for another great week with your students. Had a couple of weeks off of the videos because of the weird weeks and Thanksgiving break, but now we are back. So there's a few things coming up. I hope you all had a great long weekend, whether or not you celebrated Thanksgiving holiday or just hopefully were around family at that time. So we have just 3 weeks left until winter break, so lots of things, projects are happening, things are coming to a close, and I'll get to those academically, but we'll have some fun things toward the end, right before winter break as well. So the only big announcements for next week are on Friday. We have a guest speaker, Vivian from our class. Her dad is coming to speak about some topics related to space, which we're really excited about. And then also on Friday, December 8th, report cards come out. So I think they come out in the afternoon, so you can access them through Aries. There shouldn't be any gigantic surprises on the report card from trimester 1. We talked at conferences. The grades were online throughout the trimester. So again, there shouldn't be any giant surprises, but of course, anytime you have questions about grades, either about trimester 1 or upcoming grades, you can let me know. And we can work together. But we're doing a lot of work with the kids to help them understand how their work is translated into grades, and so hopefully they're reflecting as well on what their grades are and what that means. In reading next week, actually before I get to that, I'll tell you, right now we're working on gathering evidence essentially in lots of different subjects. So we're reading all different sorts of texts, and we're using those texts to take evidence and then use the evidence to make some point. Reading right now is a great example of that. The kids are doing debates. So the current topic of the debate with teams of 4 versus 4 are, should we support zoos or boycott them? So there is a bunch of resources that I had curated, articles and videos that the kids can use to gather evidence on whether or not it makes sense to support zoos or to boycott them. This is clearly like a muddy, not incredibly obvious issue, simply based on the language that I used as support or boycott. So there's a lot of room for students to come up with their own ideas. We're talking a lot in class about like the structure of a debate and what that means in terms of how I'm able to talk about a topic. I might be on a team that I don't personally agree with, but that is okay. And it could be a help. It could help your team because then you have a great idea of what the other side is going to say. So the kids are collecting evidence. We'll have our formal debates on Tuesday, and then they'll turn in some work based on the work they did to prepare for those debates. We'll also have the middle of the year STAR reading test on Monday. I will not send those out unless you ask for them, which is totally fine, but you can just send me an email and say you'd like the STAR reading scores, and I will send it, but I'm not sending a mass email with everyone's scores. So just so you know, that's coming up, and then the STAR math test will take place I think the next week. So that's all coming up pretty soon, but the debates are going to be really fun. They go super fast. Kids have very strong opinions on this topic, so that'll be really fun. Our read aloud is scheduled to be The Bridge to Terabithia. I'm running out of time, so to finish it before winter break. So if I don't get it started by early next week, it might not happen at all, just because we're trying to do so many things here at the end. But it is a fantastic book, and I will recommend it to the kids if we don't end up reading it out loud. Again, we're looking at different texts and pieces of multimedia and taking evidence and then using those for different things. Writing is another great example of that. The kids are reading different topics and writing essays. They're writing argument essays. They're taking a position and defending it. And so they're going to finish up their first one, which is all about whether or not chocolate milk should be served in schools. And the kids have read a lot about and have strong feelings about that. You can ask them about that, how they feel about it, and some of the nuances that we talked about, and the decisions that people have to make. Then they're going to finish that one and turn it in. And the next one they're going to have some more options. There's different ones about, are extreme sports worth the risk, or what's more important, space exploration or the exploration of the ocean, or should we be more focused on protecting humans from sharks or sharks from humans? So there's these different questions, and they'll get to choose from a few that I have with resources ready for them to go, so they're not just randomly searching out there on the internet. And so they'll choose from one of those, and again, kind of put together an essay and have an opinion on this, and then really defend it, turning it into an argument essay. So they'll work on their second one next week. in math, we're continuing our study of decimals. We just took a quiz about adding, subtracting, and multiplying decimals, and we've shifted our focus now to division with decimals. Division with decimals gets tricky because it turns into like different rules. If this is in the dividend, do this. If this is in the divisor, do this. And so we're really also going to take some time to talk about the concept of division and simply the fact that I'm asking how many of something fit into something else. And sometimes I think having that grounding really helps the students not only be able to kind of estimate an answer and understand what it means, what the question means, but also to make less mistakes because they're understanding, is my answer reasonable? So for instance, if I said 60.5 divided by 12, I know that's going to be very close to 5 before I even begin. And so that helps me just have that understanding and not get lost in just having the decimal there and following all the rules and multiplying by 10 or multiplying by 1,000 or how much do I do of this, how much do I do that. Really being grounded and having a number sense is what we're going to focus on, in addition to having the practice of what do I do in these different situations. And so we'll do that. The kids will take a quiz, focus on division, I believe on Wednesday, and then they'll take the STAR math test on Thursday. Same thing with STAR reading. I'm not going to send out the scores, but if you'd like to know, you just let me know. In social studies, believe it or not, we're going to be looking at documents, at actual pieces of text, and taking information and using that information. So you can see there's a theme running throughout all the things we're doing right now. And so we're looking at the English, the first like permanent English colony was called Jamestown in Virginia. And it was very unsuccessful, to say the least. The spoiler of the story is that almost all the colonists died, and they didn't really get the settlement going exactly the way they had intended. And so we're looking at different documents to try and figure out, why did that happen? Like, why was it not successful? Why did so many colonists die? And there's different possible reasons, and the kids are acting as investigative journalists to give an opinion about what they think the reason was that happened. So they're going to end up, by the end of our time, not next week, but by the week after, they will give write an article as if they were a journalist, and also make a short little news report video on Jamestown and why it was so unsuccessful and why the colonists died. So that'll be really fun. It's a really interesting story from the perspective of a historian, because there's all these different factors, in addition to the fact that it's just an incredibly difficult time and place to live in the early 1600s in a brand new place with people coming from England. So it's a really interesting story, and the kids have been into it so far, so I think they'll enjoy kind of digging into that a little more. In science, the kids will, of course, see Mrs. DeMarco a couple times throughout the week. And then we were just looking at, in science, how plants add matter. They start as these little tiny seeds that weigh nothing. And then over time, they grow and they become more massive. So where does that mass come from? And so we're going to continue that process thinking about animals and how they add mass. And you can imagine there's going to be some overlap there. But that'll be really interesting. And then finally, on Monday, we've changed our leadership focus, this idea of circle of viewpoints, which is an idea where we take some scenario and each of the kids almost act as actors. They say, okay, I'm going to be in this body, or this, I'm going to be this viewpoint, and this is how I would react. And so that helps the kids understand when they get into conflicts of seeing the other side, or if I'm in a debate, understanding that I have to think about things from the other side also. So we're trying to develop that as a habit of a leader. And our situation next week is that someone observes a student breaking a rule. They cheated on a test or stole something. And so there's all these different perspectives. So there's a perspective of the person who witnessed it. There's the person who actually broke the rule. There's a parent of the person who witnessed it and what their expectations are. There's a teacher, and even like a friend of the rule breaker and what their perspective might be. So it's a really fun, short activity that we do on Monday mornings, and that'll be really interesting. But, you can follow up with your kids on Monday about that if you're interested. And we'll continue doing Circle of Viewpoints on Monday throughout trimester 2. Last week we did school uniforms, and so whether or not people should have school uniforms and why people would or would not like that. So it's been a really interesting transition. The kids are doing a really good job trying to see things from another point of view. Again, thank you for a fantastic week. We're in the home stretch. It's already December, if you can believe it. So we're really moving fast through things. But thank you again for sending your kids. It's great to have them. And after the long break, it was great to have them back and like get back into things this week. So again, talk to me if you have questions. Look out for report cards on Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.